morning, LinkedIn friends, HubSpot Nation. Welcome to another episode of Singularity Soothsayers with my good friends Nico and Erin. Happy Sunday, May 18th. How are we doing today?
Doing awesome. So glad to be here with y'all this morning. I know I've missed the last couple, so
Yeah, we've kind of been, to be honest, you haven't missed too many because we've been dabbling in other formats and content pieces, as you saw yesterday, as you joined our 4-hour stream, just building stuff. We found the edge of LinkedIn.
There we
LinkedIn
go.
Live.
There we go.
Just 4 hours.
Love it.
But having a blast, just continuing to try and keep up, build new stuff, talk about all of the impact of these things. Glad to see you. You came back this morning, Nico, after the marathon session yesterday. How you feeling, man?
Feeling very, very good. Marathon session was awesome. I, started crushing out that awesome fake app. I call it that because it's like I don't have any vested interest.
I have like dozens of fake apps at this point that are like they're real to me.
Right. Like
yeah,
like they sit on the side. Like, so what's nice is like I have been waiting for Codex in the sense that, like I was telling Chris just before you jumped on, that Replit, it will so Lovable is cute. Windsurf is for like developers. Like if you know how to target files, if you know how to target what it is that you're doing, I think Windsurf and all like those IDEs with the added assistance, absolutely like the perfect thing. If you don't know jack squat, again, Lovable kind of like shows you what's possible. But I think Replit is really like one of the strongest ones out there. I think even over Blitz. I've tried it. It's cute. Google's is really more of like a wireframing thing. I haven't seen it do anything impressive. And so, Replit's already on its version 2. It kind of feels like 2.5 as of yesterday. So it can get you pretty far, but it can't seal the deal. So it's kind of nice to have Codex now and be able to like share that repo and have one checking the other's work and being able to do it in that fashion, because it's like, oh, cool. So I can, use one app, build the team, use one app to get it like halfway there, and then the other app carries it to the finish line.
I actually just got, in this past week, I got to use Replit for an internal project at Engaging. And it was the first time I've like used it in a group setting where like it's not just me playing with it, like other people are expecting the output and there's like things riding on it. And it was actually really cool to be able to like, I came up with kind of the baseline, like here's what I think, and then gave it to somebody who's a much better designer than me. And he was actually really impressed. And he was like, this isn't that far off. And so we had just a working session that we recorded a transcript of. And I used the transcript and the original code, plugged that back into like a new Replit, and was basically like, pretend you don't have access to that. How would you start this from scratch based on the feedback? And had it spin up like a whole new interface, and it worked really well. And it's like, now we've got kind of the front end design part, and we're just going to send it to our devs, and God bless them, because like they can hook everything up and
take it and run.
Yeah, exactly. Like they already have like a lot of the back end code ready to go. And so it's really just kind of plugging it in. And so it was really fun to get to use it like as a group this week. That was really fun.
Yeah. No, that sounds awesome. I think that is a major unlock that we're going to see in the second half of this year, like organizations understanding the team environment that's required, and how to, like, there's so many people building their own projects and their own GPTs and their own Claudes and just all of the things, like, because we're all enabled to do it in unbelievable ways.
Right.
But like, even just being able to share the Claude projects for me has been super powerful, and not having to copy paste and just being able to work off off of the same like knowledge base. So really awesome to hear that you're, getting to experience that. And it kind of gets to the point, like Nico was saying before you got on. When you dive into these things, we have three levels. I think we have three levels of expertise, like on this show right now, when it comes to like developing, right? I have the least experience. I try to stay away from code whenever possible.
That's fair.
If it comes up and I'm like, all right, let's push, one time doesn't work, all right, we're done. And then we have Nico, obviously getting deep in all of the different possible tools, and there's like a learning
I'll try
curve
anything once
with that. But obviously without the engineering background, without the true like dev expertise, there's limits that he's already, shared, and we see a lot of potential with, and why they're kind of releasing Codex and calling it a software engineer agent, and the differences between that and vibe coders. Then we have you, who I'm really excited to see what you're talking about with n8n, because that's something like I can't even like I'll just say the accessibility is not there for me, because it's just so
right.
Like the more I get into those, like looks like drag and drop on the surface, but when you don't know how to plug
supposed
stuff
to type in little code stuff here.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, all right, that's not me. And
I've definitely seen that take from multiple people now, where it's like n8n is more for like the technically savvy, like more so than Zapier maybe. But I mean, I learned it. I think I started using it this May, like a month ago. And so I've come a long way in a month, but I feel like I'm still just like scratching the surface of this platform. And hopefully as we go through things, maybe I'll show you some things that'll like spark your interest enough to be like, maybe I'll play around with it, and just enough to like check it out. Cause I do think there's like a free trial like tier that you can do and just like mess around and try stuff.
Yeah.
I've
Well,
been wanting to dive into it.
Because Nico's question was like for himself, like, okay, do I need to like build development, like true developer expertise, like knowledge set, or how far and how fast are the tools going to come in that I'm not going to be limited anymore? Right. And maybe it's just diving into n8n to fill that gap. So really understanding, because for me, it's like I feel overpowerful just connecting Claude to HubSpot, like from MCP perspective, and starting to build stuff. That's where I have like a thought where it's like, okay, if MCP is good enough, then I won't even need to learn how to use APIs and even go that route, right? So, and that's where like when you lead with that team story, it's like, especially when you're in an organization, like the leaders, like you figure out how to put those pieces together, like, man, I'm sure, especially in the bigger orgs, like figuring out how to pivot in that way,
for sure,
like can take you to can move you from laggard to like out front real damn quick. So interested to see more about n8n today, and what you've been up to.
And my advice for anyone who's like anywhere in between Chris's level of understanding and my level of understanding, my advice is to just, play around with it. That's literally how I learned to code. Like, don't be embarrassed about fumbling around like Nico, like when you were saying that yesterday, I was like, honestly, that is how I learn, is messing up and trial and error. And really, as long as you understand the basics, like you understand what MCP is, you understand how APIs kind of communicate with each other, even if you can't write the code. I think where we're going is humans as like orchestrators now, where like you need to be able to put all the pieces together. And so as long as you're keeping up with what those pieces are and like how they fit together in the like greater scheme of things, I honestly don't think you need to know how to code. Like the code that I write that comes out of my head is pretty sparse these days. I'm going to be super honest. Like,
Well, I
if
mean,
I,
like the
'cause why would I sit there and write it out if I can tell, if I know how to tell AI to write it, you
so
know?
that's the way that's the way I've been looking at it, and I realize it's really super tough for like everyone that's not in this virtual room because you all got degrees, spent tens of thousands of dollars, probably don't know. Like, I feel bad. I really do. It's not my fault that life is getting nerfed. That's just the way it is. And this is exactly what it feels like, right? You know, it happened to me. I'm sure it happened to you guys too. Like when I went to school and I was when I first started out doing 3D modeling, you had to manually make a ball bounce. It was
Mm,
like, I mean, it was like part of your skill set. Like if you could realistically make it work because there was no gravity, like setting, nothing. You had to simulate gravity as well. You had to
mhm,
simulate global illumination. We didn't have that at the time.
mhm.
Now these are like standard things. Like you just click a
Right,
button, what ball bounce, like you can just animate a whole kinematic character, like no big deal, right? Like it's so
right.
like out of the box stuff. Am I upset about it? No, it's so cool. I can go like build 3D stuff again, right? Like real
Right,
super easy. I've caught up to what would have taken me tons of time, right?
right.
Um, it should be the case if you're a programmer. I guess I don't look. I'm not trying to talk smack. I just think if you're a programmer and you got in the game to make money, that's why you're pissed.
Well, and
If you're a
like
programmer and you got into the game to like make stuff, I think this is it's your shining moment, right?
for there's like a limited amount of time that we're still kind of in where knowing how to code is a distinct advantage still. Like even
Yeah,
if like you didn't do yourself a
2 3 months.
disservice learning to code, you may not know, like that may not be your bread and butter from now on, but like where I'm at is kind of like I have these skills, I know how to code. What's what's the like leading edge? Like where is it still not great? Like where can I still add value to this system if it's not code, if it's putting it together in a workflow, if it's not code, if it's, just understanding the back end architecture to be able to, set up the data needed. Kind of getting those software engineering kind of scaffolding into things. Like I think you can be like there are definitely people who are upset, and you can be upset, or
Yeah,
and use the advantage you currently have to get out ahead of the next thing that's going to piss you off because it's coming. Like we're all just waiting for the next shoe to drop of like things that are going to blow our mind, because that's
right.
just what happens in AI every single day. And so yeah, you can either be mad about it or you can figure out like where the value still is.
Yeah. And that's where like so many, even the highest devs I know, are now creating stuff they've always wanted to create.
Exactly.
Like, and they just could never make time for it or could never prove the business case or
Mhm,
whatever. Right.
mhm,
And that's the spot like where you could either look at like it being nerfed or being like, Iron Man suited. Like,
Right.
right. And that's where I would love your take, Erin,
mhm.
on like for the narrative that suggests um the highly sophisticated devs are going to be needed in the future to come in and fix all of the code that like what is the
That's
like
hubris.
like
I love it.
is that really the only thing like is there anything specific you think they kind of latch on to that they are just reading the room wrong, or is it just
Um,
straight like hanging on for dear life?
I think there's a lot of people who just want to dunk on newbies. Like there's just a whole group of people who are kind of gatekeepers, and I had to go through this, so anyone who's going to do this should have to go through this. And like I have never subscribed to that in anything, much less development. And so I think there's a lot of like ego involved where it's like you're seeing the current systems and how they'll go off the rails and tank your code base. And like I've done it like several times where I've like completely screwed things up and had to start over because the AI went off the rails. And like it's annoying. It's not permanent. Like it's not like, I feel like the people who think that there's always going to be a part for humans to play in fixing things are people who are not paying attention to the pace at which we're moving.
Yep.
And that's, you know, I mean, again, it's hard to keep up with, but the idea that these can't become like self-healing systems is being disproven pretty rapidly. And so people are going to figure that part out and somebody's going to monetize it, right? Like all these people who are getting like, you know, all their API keys stolen out of Replit and stuff, like Replit has a vested interest in making sure their platform is putting out secure code. They're going to come in and help you. Like, so like the idea that, you know, that's the future job of software engineers is like fixing the AI. It's like, no, the future job of software engineers is orchestrating how the AI fixes itself. Like that's like, you can either get on board and figure out how to make this better, or you can get left behind, you know, like it's, you know, I feel bad for the people who feel that way. But because it's right now, it's easy to say that, right? Like it's easy to get on LinkedIn and dunk on these people and be like, you know, they don't know anything and I'm a software engineer. And, you know, it's, I don't know, it's kind of sad to me. It's like you're just trying to hold on to something that you see slipping away. And I get it. But there are other ways to kind of cope with that. Like you can do what I do, which is just dive in head first, eyes closed, can't lose. And then, you know, figure it out from there. So, because like the thing I'm going to show you today, talking about like things you've always wanted to build, I have been trying to build something that will automatically track my time for meetings for like 2.5 years. And have never been able to make it work because there's always this like, you've got to like leave breadcrumbs for like how to find the IDs of, you know, the folder you wanted to put it in or the task, or, you know, like there's always been so much variability in how you can try to do this. And like I've gotten pretty close with Zapier before, like I'm pretty close, but like what I have now actually works. And like this is a thing I've been trying to like check this box for 2.5 years. And like, we're finally here. Like we're finally to a point where it can do that. And I'm just super excited about it. And like, I wish more people would get excited when they saw things like that rather than like, oh, there goes my job. It's like, there's another job doing this, like somewhere out there.
That's what we're here to help with. This show is all about helping people make this transition. And since the word singularity was used in a show that I was listening to, where I was not expecting it, but it was talking about how fast AI is going, and the idea that there's going to be different like levels of singularity. And when you think about how fast we're moving right now, and that we can't predict the AI innovation and development and like new product launches like 1 week out right now, that is a form of singularity where the AI, like anybody on the bleeding edge, is whatever happens, whatever they get to, whatever point, they're ready to go. And it's impossible to see it coming.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to diving in with you. And I'll say as you go, I'm interested. I have a hunch that it's like you've had challenges with this use case based on the systems involved not being very good at talking to each other.
For sure.
And that now that there's natural language bridges to create, that is part of what you're experiencing, but I'm very curious to see as you take us through like where there was a problem before and now you've solved for it through
For
what you
sure.
built.
Oh my gosh, you're gonna flip. It's so cool. Like the first time I saw it like run through, because like each agent node in n8n can like make a plan, and you can like look at all the steps that it takes and figure out like kind of what its thought process was. And the first time it just like cycled through like all the tools exactly as I intended it, I was just like, oh man, like I was so pumped. So yeah, I'm super excited to show y'all kind of, because even I wasn't even sure that it was gonna be able to figure it out. So I'm very excited.
Yeah.
That's always the like. I mean, that's to your point. Like that's where we're the same. Otherwise, you're way out there. But like to your point earlier, like I just like fumble around with stuff, and it's like that's the cool feeling about it is I liken it to a video game where you explore instead of like go follow a guide or something like that, right?
Mhm.
It's difficult, but every time you pass something, it's super rewarding, right?
Mhm.
So it's like, I don't know anything about this stuff, right? But like we were doing yesterday, it's like, okay, well, like where it seems super difficult, okay, let's go ask GPT or Claude, like, how do we get past that? And even in working with GPT and Claude, when you do get past it, it's like a double success because it's like, oh, sweet, like you almost want to high five the the LLM for helping you get there, right? So yeah, no, but I want to see this thing because you sent me. She sent me a screenshot before we got started,
Yeah.
and she was like, "Oh yeah, I can't wait until you see this cool thing." This screenshot's so massive that like I zoomed in on it and then like kept zooming in like web wise to open it. It got blurred. I can't even see the stuff because it's so massive with so much stuff going on. So yeah, I want to see this.
I love it.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
It's awesome. Like it looks like something I would have built, it's great.
so
And I do want to, I want to see this, and then I do want to talk to you about MCP and whether how you see that, like whether you see that as being a competitive thing or if you see that as being, I don't. I think you can combine one with the other, but
for sure.
Yeah,
For sure. So let's jump into this. I'm going to share my entire screen here. Are y'all seeing this?
Just about. There we go.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, so there's a ton of stuff going on here, and essentially, so what's the best place to start?
How about that name? How about that name, Jarvis Transcripts?
Yeah, right.
Well, because Jarvis is going to do some other stuff for me. Like Jarvis is also going to send me like a message first thing in the morning that like takes all my tasks and meetings and plans out my day and tells me like what I need to be doing, and then checks in on me and makes sure that like things are getting done and tracks time as I go. So like I have big plans for Jarvis. So this is just like one kind of facet of him. And I've been calling whatever I build to help me personally Jarvis since AI became a thing because I'm a big Marvel fan. And so I'm just not going to stop. I was like, why didn't you give it like a woman's name or something? But I think that would make my life.
I am going for Friday, so.
Right. So all of this is made possible by a webhook from Fireflies. So I use Fireflies AI as my note taker. I have for a very long time. I absolutely love it. It makes automating with your transcripts really, really easy. I know I recently found out that Fathom has like a Zapier connection, and I think it has some different ways that you can like automate with it. But Fireflies is by far going to be the most flexible because you can just set up this webhook and send it to wherever you want. So you're not locked into Zapier or anything. All the nodes here, the kind of like regular looking ones with logos, those are just regular automation nodes. There are tools agents kind of throughout the workflow. So that's this guy here, and the meeting analyzer. Each agent you connect to a model. So I just used 4.1 for all of these because I just wanted to see how it would do. I use ZEP for conversational memory and absolutely love it. Could not tell you how it works, but it's fantastic. Like, highly recommend. So every one of these nodes, I use the meeting ID as the key for the memory. So as it goes through this workflow, everything's going to remember previous steps, and understand more and more about this meeting as it goes along, which is really cool.
And what is the meeting? Who's creating the meeting ID?
So that's coming from a webhook. So the webhook comes in, basically just says, it's from Fireflies. It basically just has like transcript completed and then the meeting ID.
Yep.
So I'll walk you through kind of some of the basic steps here, but the main thing I want to show you are the tools that you can use with these tools agents, because this is the game changer. Like, this is why I wouldn't use anything else other than n8n, because it is just dead simple to give it these tools. And you'll notice a bunch of mine are, these are just HTTPS nodes. So anytime I run into something where like the node that I want doesn't exist, I'll just create a Lambda function and put it, or give it like an API trigger. Let me sign in real quick. And then that way, like for this one, I wanted it to be able to track time. So I just create the API gateway to connect to that. And now it can track my time. And so that's the method that I used to be able to finally enable automatically tracking time to meetings. So all this like spaghetti over here, these are all the steps that agents need to take in order to find the correct place in our project management system. We use Productive to track time. So I was not optimistic that it was going to be able to figure this out, y'all. Like, was really not. I was like, let me just try it. So essentially what I did, from the meeting ID, I can pull down a ton of information from Fireflies. Let's see, this one, query. We look at transcript. So there's just like a ton of data that I can get from my transcript, including meeting attendees. So in order to figure out where to track this time, I get all the transcript data, and then I get a client domain. So I just use some custom code, essentially loop through all the meeting attendees, exclude anyone from my company or HubSpot, and then get the most frequent domain out of those. And that's probably who the client is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now I've got the client domain, and I'm sending that to my agent. And then the agent has these, I think it's 5 or 6 steps, 6 steps. So first of all, we got to go to HubSpot. We got to figure out who this client is based on their company domain. So grab their company name. Now, based on the company name, I'm going to search for projects in my project management system. It's going to return a list of project names and IDs. And now the next step is, okay, out of those projects, what's the most appropriate for this client and this meeting? And then it kind of does that same thing back and forth, where it goes project to board to task list to actual task to service within that task. And then once it has the ID of the service that it needs to track the time to, because it knows I need a task ID and a service ID, and I'm going to fill in the rest and some notes. So this is a really just super awesome way to set up your tools, because you can fill in all those parameters and tell it, I need you to add that and it's required, or you can add it optionally, or I can fill it in for you. So for the date, AI is not great with dates. I'm just going to automatically pull the one from the transcript. It's always going to track time for me, so I can just, take that offload that from the AI, have thought process.
Right.
Give it some notes and a duration for the meeting. Again, I'm not trying to have it do math, like just, give it the basics. And so when this agent runs, it knows ultimately I need to track time. So first I need to find the task ID and the service ID. And so it uses these steps to find it. And it's actually really freaking accurate. It's probably actually more accurate than I am, because I'm new to the company and don't know my way around the project management system as well. So like usually if I'm tracking time, I'm putting it in the wrong place and having to move it later. But this is
Okay,
actually,
that is the sickest statement. I hope people really took that into account right there, because that is so important, and to me that's the most crucial part of this technology. She came into the company. There, whether or not they had like good onboarding or not, kind of doesn't matter. She came into the company. She's got to get to work right away. The system that she's using is a bit confounded for her, maybe other people, whatever, to try to work with.
Mhm.
Rather than sitting there and wasting time, trying to figure it out and then becoming a part of this convoluted system.
Mhm.
No, let me just hook up this agent that not only like handles it for me, but does it in the background, where now that system is not even a thing for me.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. Um, The other really cool feature for all of these agents is you can add a structured output parser. And that's just something I have not seen anywhere else. And I use it for everything. Like, I don't ever have the AI return a text response. It's always JSON. It's always something that like I'm going to use downstream. And so like for this in particular, you can put in your schema. And I did not write this. AI wrote this for me. Like, here's my chat where I'm telling you, like, it's telling me, okay, here's what you'll get. Here's how I need you to output that. So that I know what actions were taken within the process. So when it runs, it always returns this JSON response. Because if it doesn't, you can set it to like automatically retry. And like like total game changer for agentic automation, I think. I don't know if you can do that in Zapier now. I know they've come a long way with stuff, but yeah, that, I mean, because I use it, you'll see on every single one of these nodes. Because once it tracks my time, that's kind of like, that was just the basic thing that I've been trying to accomplish for a really long time, and like just really wanted to save myself some headache. So that's kind of where Time Tracker comes from, where the real kind of crazy stuff really gets kicked off is with this meeting analyzer. So this agent is kind of like the director of the system. So it's going to take the entire meeting transcript and figure out what are the downstream tasks that need to happen. Do I need to invoke my scheduling agent, or my project management agent, or my knowledge base agent, or my content agent? And then we have a couple of agents down here that are going to run regardless. So I always have it communicate either directly back to me through Slack, or it can also like create emails. And I have it only creating drafts because I don't want it to send without approval. But so I have my communications agent, and then I have a coach and a trainer. We'll get to the coach and the trainer here in a second, because that's another thing that I'm super excited about.
And I
But
have to imagine, like, I need to highlight the thing I just said, oh my God, about while I was muted. The communicate back to me directly in Slack part. Like
Mhm.
that, I have been trying to figure out how, like, because if I don't think about it, like, it's very likely to go through to the end of the day, and it's like, oh man, I should have done that, and then it doesn't happen.
Right.
Or if I'm notified, if somebody shows up and says, hey, uh, here's the next step,
Mhm.
like I'm gonna get it done.
Exactly.
And I've never worked with or inside of a great project management, system inside of
Mhm.
an org or anywhere else.
Mhm.
So like that sounds amazing.
For sure. So I am not good at project management, and I'll be the first to tell you, like admin, project management, like I am way too focused on like the tech and being in the weeds. Like I'm gonna like stuff will slip through the cracks. And so building out stuff like this is how I keep from dropping the ball. Like it has been a complete lifesaver because I had similar things in my previous role, but this is kind of just on another level. Because yeah, I'll show you. N8n also has some really cool features for a human in the loop, where you send a message, but you can also wait for a response. So like here, I have it writing a LinkedIn post and then sending it to me on Slack and saying, here's the post for your approval. You can either approve it with edits, or reject it. Um, and then I have it where I can tell it why, because I want downstream for it to kind of fix itself. But yeah, and then it waits for your approval from Slack before going on to the next step. So super easy to add a human in the loop to just about anything, which is awesome. Um, so yeah, all of these kind of nodes down here are the tools that they have access to. And most of them are, I mean, scheduling agent, fairly basic. If the meeting analyzer says there's a follow-up needed, or to block focus time for me, or if I'm trying to schedule a meeting with like other people, it can check our availability across calendars and find the right time to schedule a meeting. Um, so it's doing some cool stuff, but pretty basic to be able to connect to the calendar. My project management agent uses the same set of tools. This is another thing I really love, is the ability to share tools between agents. But it uses the same method as my time tracker to be able to find wherever it needs to add a comment or create a task, update a task, do anything like that. Which is super helpful if you want, especially the comment thing, like, because I very rarely update, we had a meeting about X and these were the outcomes. Like that doesn't usually make it to project management systems if it's left up to me. And so this is, again, just giving everyone more visibility into what's going on in my meetings. The knowledge agent basically is just set up where it can create my own knowledge base of documentation in my Google Drive based on the stuff that I talk about in meetings. So, for example, I had a client last week that we were like super in the weeds on like HubSpot unsubscribe features and like how to use custom unsubscribe features and preferences. And that's just not something I've ever really talked about before. So this system allows me to kind of store the things we talk about, and it's connected to this shared search tool, which gives it the option to either do a simple search, which uses Tavily AI, So just like a basic web search. And then it also has access to Perplexity. So if it wants a deep dive into something, it can search with Perplexity as well. So it can do follow-ups and like create robust documentation that I can go and refer back to later. And then my content agent, I have it in kind of 2 steps here, where like the content agent is going to write a post based on a topic from the meeting, and then I have a custom OpenAI assistant that has a bunch of knowledge-based documents of like things I've written, so that it can write in my voice. And so this guy like rewrites that content, sends it to me on Slack. If it gets approved, I'm going to save it and schedule it for later. So we've talked about the comms agent. The coach agent is for me to help me improve. So I have my own Slack channel where it will only be messages from this coach about how to improve, and different types of like encouragement. And if it knows that I've been in back-to-back meetings, it'll tell me like take a break or things like the coach is supposed to be kind of like exactly what it sounds like. This is the part that I feel like is next level. Like,
we haven't done the next level yet. Okay.
Right. So you see all these little Supabase logos here.
Database storages.
Yeah. So at every point, I'm storing the output. But I'm also, I don't know if you noticed at the very beginning, but I have this little guy for get prompts. So all of my prompts live here. It tells you what agent's using it, whether it's the system or the message. And then when it gets to the trainer's job is to look at all of the outputs from the previous nodes and determine if there's any way that could be improved or should be improved. And then it can update those prompts and store its decisions so that I know like, okay, I tweaked this. So I have like a little bit of like version control built in, but this guy makes it a self-improving system so that every time a meeting runs, my system gets smarter, my prompts get a little better. And as data gets messy and, the meetings aren't super on topic, like it can learn over time how to improve itself and has access and has the ability to do that. And so I'm super stoked to see just like how I'm going to be such a nerd, like looking at the logs every day to figure out like, okay, what did you decide to do today, my friend? And like, so yeah, like I'm super stoked on this.
That's so awesome because like it serves such a multitude of purposes, right? Like, and again, this is this is something that you interface with or like chat with through Slack, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And so there's no web interface or like like traditional like ChatGPT type interface or anything.
Right.
So again, like it's running in the background, it's handling all this stuff. Erin doesn't even have to think twice about it. All she has to do is look at her inbox, and all she's looking at her inbox for is drafts.
Right.
Doesn't even have to spend time to read the emails. She just has to review whether the draft essentially covered what was in it. It's like that in and of itself is her having read the email, because her reading the reply is her understanding what the previous ask was. Even if that wasn't the case, you can just jump down and you grab the little bit that you need instead of having to go through the whole thing, right? I mean, I've used Fireflies before, but most recently I used Fixer. And Fixer is not, it's nothing like this. All it does is the email drafts. That's it. Super shit by comparison. So sorry, I have no problem talking trash about trash AI tools. Because when I see like someone else create a better tool in way less time, then it's like, okay, well then the major company's trash, because like really you can't catch up. Like that's what it's like. That's what it's like now. Like I said, Erin didn't like the way that the time clock was going in terms of like having to track her time. She didn't want to waste her time with it. So she just like she just developed a method around it entirely. Right. So it's like she doesn't have to, like, realistically, if you wanted to, I'm sure that you could keep adding on to it to the point where you don't even have to touch that software or the project management software at all. Right.
For sure.
Your email replies to the client.
That's the goal, because I'm so bad at it, y'all. And I feel bad because I want to be good at admin and, keeping the team.
No,
up
you
to
don't.
date.
No, you want to be good at what you do and not have to spend the time doing all that bullshit. That's what it is at the end of the day.
Hold on. Nobody wants to be good at the admin.
Nobody wants to be good at other people's jobs.
I appreciate good admin so much that, like, I really do. Like, I wish it occurred to me to follow up in the way that a good admin follows up. But I am like immediately on to the next shiny thing. And so like, this is the system that is going to ground me in, in a way that I can keep up with.
Focus on the shiny things.
Made. Exactly.
Well, the thing that you mentioned right after that is the thing that we all want to be good at, which is keeping our team informed and communicating well and making sure there's no surprises, creating good experiences internally so that great experiences happen externally. And that should be a note, like, even if you're in an admin position watching all this, like, literally, if let's say the team has an owner of the project management system, which in the best cases there is one, somebody's adminning that system, making sure it's working well. Like, you have a choice now. And most are having a lot of trouble like moving. Like, you can enable Erin to do it this way, or you can keep banging your head against the wall that is trying to get Erin to log into the system and start using it. And so many of our admin tendencies and the tools that the SaaS companies give us are based on login, audits, how many times you logged in, how many times you're inside the system using it. Now, one of the cool things I'm noticing with HubSpot MCP is that when I make stuff from Claude, it shows up as an activity from Chris Carolan inside the system.
Right.
And that's really where, as an admin, you figure out how it is Erin using the system. It's just in a different way from everybody else.
I was about to say, like, to me, if you guys can't see it, again, to me, if you can't see it, I know, like, it's whatever, like, Nico, you look at this stuff every day. But if you can't see it, you're blind. You're blind if you don't see that Erin is building her digital self.
Right.
You are blind if you don't see that. Like, this is digital Erin. This is agent Erin.
Right.
Don't you guys get that? Like,
9 teammates that are just going to constantly work in the background on my behalf.
Well, to me, it's one that has, like, I mean, like, essentially, right? It's like the contractor that then goes and subcontracts, right? So, while you have the Jarvis that you talk to, if you guys can't see what this is like, what it ends up being is you guys have either, like, you have either your Apple account, or you have like your Samsung account, or you have your Google account. You're going to have an n8n account. That's going to be your digital person. You're going to go to your new job, and instead of you signing into all of those services, it's your agent getting connected to all of those services. Right? Because, again, Erin just needs to work on the shiny. That's all the company cares about, is her working and killing the shiny, right?
Right.
It's like the company doesn't care about Erin doing the time clock and that kind of shit. That's other stuff. That's like other mini games within the big game. right? And who wants to, like, you're trying to play a big game. You don't want to get mired down with the stupid ads and the stupid mini games that you have to play in order to go do the big thing, right? So now I love what I'm looking at, because it's like, yeah, I can totally see this like a year from now. Like now I can start, like, you're opening up the vision a bit. I can see like maybe by the end of this year or a year from now, where you're going to an org and you're just plugging your digital self in,
Right.
as opposed to you having to onboard and learn all these different this is why
Yeah.
we're going to do this next weekend too, because this is very
Right.
much tech stack reimagined.
Yeah. No,
Mhm.
it's like my
Erin's
personal.
agent is the tech stack now.
Yeah. And I
Get
don't know
it?
if you heard me yesterday, Erin, but I've started referring to MCP as my customized platform
Right.
Nice.
because that's what, this is obviously a different level, but
Mhm.
like as the systems get easier to talk to, right? Because what is my understanding, the intent of MCP is developing a standardized protocol so we don't have all the struggles that we've had forever.
Mhm.
But that's really where like everybody can build their own version of, like, I love how you put it, Nico, their digital selves.
Mhm.
And like the other way, and like systems like HubSpot, I know that product team is building towards that future where we get to an onboarding and it's like, all right, plug into all the data
Mhm.
and plug in. Now, the third part I wasn't considering is like, instead of relying on just the salesperson coming in and voice activated talking to the CRM, you plug into the digital version of that salesperson as well. And it's like, this is how I like to work. This is how I talk. Now
Right.
the questions coming from AI enabled HubSpot. Wow. Like it's not starting from scratch. It's like that is another level. I do
Mhm.
have some questions though
Yeah.
about this
Yeah.
though,
Shoot.
because like you, I have had a weakness in project management,
Mhm.
and it's another CRM like thing where at the end of the day, it doesn't matter which tool it is if it's not being used.
Right.
Like the best one is the one that gets used, right?
Exactly. Mhm.
I've been starting to build like last weekend, I started building a Claude memory extension
Mhm.
dev portal of HubSpot, where I was just like, all right, there's no memory across chats. So I'm going to see as I'm doing it, I'm like, maybe this is like a makeshift rag or something. I don't know.
Mhm.
But I'm also taking like a project management mindset approach, because that's really where the value is going to be if I'm saving stuff to HubSpot from what I'm doing in Claude.
Mhm.
And I always struggle with the answers people give me for why HubSpot is not or cannot be a project management tool, because it's a database that has a lot of things in there. It's just not out of the box, like
Mhm.
shiny project management tool.
Mhm.
So, like HubSpot aside, obviously I'm a little biased there. But if you didn't have a specific project management system
Mhm.
in place to like do this stuff, like what is viable um, from a project management perspective to keep track of all this thing? Like, is this doable
Mhm.
in just like Google Drive? At the end of the day, like whatever the AI, for me, whatever is easiest for the AI to like manage and set up
Mhm.
seems like the play, but I'm just curious for your thoughts there. Like,
Yeah. It's a good question because, like, it depends on how much you need to be able to. It depends on how connected that project management tool is to everything else, and like how much you need to get out of that project management tool. Um, I think for most people, um, something like Google Drive or even Notion. Notion has come a super long way and like made some big moves even recently to try to be more of like a one-stop kind of shop. And maybe HubSpot too. Like when you think about like, I mean, I would want to do it as a custom object because I want to do everything as a custom object. But like I do think it is possible. Um, I think the main thing to figure out, in that kind of along those same lines, is like how do we give humans visibility into what we're doing, into what the agents are doing? So like in this system, like I need to be able to inform my team, inform my clients, inform even myself, like send myself reminders, to have an understanding of like all the decisions that are being made in here. And so as long as you have a good interface to be able to understand decisions that are being made as they're being made, and that goes for project management and for agentic management, then you should be fine. Like I think you could even do it through something like Slack or Discord, where, you know, as long as there is a central place to go and find these answers, they just need to be recorded in some way. And so,
truth.
yeah.
And that's where I think from a HubSpot perspective, and this goes for any kind of, like, it's the same reason Monday was a project management system, and then all of a sudden it was CRM. Like you got database, you got objects, you got properties, you got tasks, all this stuff can be put together. And that's where, like, if we have task activated workflows, which we do now, and we have objects that manage stages, the output everybody wants is just, where are we right now with this project, with this task, whatever. And most of the things I hear are like, oh, it doesn't have nested tasks, it doesn't have this, it doesn't have that. Now, like, you could rely on AI, and this is what I'm going to try and show with HubSpot. Like, it doesn't matter like how many tasks, like it can be like just super noisy in this layer that AI itself is managing. As long as the team looks at the dashboard and says, okay, these tasks are done, these are not. This is the progress. So you could, I could even imagine like a nested naming convention setup where it's like, based on that, like, because we're not in there clicking the buttons of hide and show, and like, it doesn't need to make sense to us.
Right.
If the AI is the one managing it. Right.
Exactly.
And that's where, if you already have a system, and this may be like a personal plea right now in one of the situations I'm in, if you already have a system that is already a central source of truth of everything the team is doing in another domain, why would you want to bring another system in? Like, right? So this
throw out like this caveat about everything you've seen here. There's notably not a CRM agent here that keeps HubSpot up to date. And I just want to point out that that's because the Firefly's built-in is so good. Like, it was not worth me rebuilding. So yeah, like I'm totally with you. Like, as long as there is a central place, as long as there's a place and everybody knows that place and everybody can read it, then that's all you really need.
Right.
Like,
because like I imagine
complicated.
I imagine you can, if you don't have it already, I imagine that you can hook it up so that you can have keywords, just like any of the other AI apps, and set up keywords for either emails or Slack messages within your project channels, where the words, you know, this has been completed, right, gets used. And anytime that gets used, that it can go look and see what the latest project was. If it was related to it, can read the Slack message, you know, find, locate, and then go mark that task as completed and log, you know, possibly even log the time for the task too, right? Like, if you use, so basically your tech stack could come down to HubSpot, your dev software, and Slack.
Right.
And if you could integrate Slack into HubSpot, which you can, if you take the time to work with doesn't matter which system, and bring your Slack into HubSpot through the UI, then yeah, it's pretty much just HubSpot and your dev software, assuming that you even need HubSpot. Otherwise, it's just I mean, realistically, So what I was going to say is to your point about Fireflies being a better connection to HubSpot or just faster because it's already done. MCP to me represents this method of like basically not having to do as many like spidering connections,
Yes.
because so long as it has the connection to those tools already, right, then you don't need the actual agent to make the call.
Right.
But my question is, could you, I'm sure you can, and it's just like super complicated right now, I guess. But and then for anybody watching, I'm sure n8n, this may be a thing for you. Because all I can think of is like Swarm, right? So like how this would translate to going from being like basically like the way I see it is like a Plinko chip that goes through and hits all the things and eventually gets to the end of the thing. You know, I think of that movie Next in my head where it's just like, nope, just split off and go do all of the things at the same time and then come back and report on all the things that got done and whether or not, right, certain task was done. Because theoretically, all of those things could get done at the same time, knowing a certain amount of information from a particular step, right? So like per se, it could be configured in such a way that step 3 or something like that builds all of the core information that the other steps would have to know in order to do what they would need to do. And so that just becomes the point at which contractor hires all the subcontractors to go do all those steps and then come back and give us the end result. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. I really wish these guys, the optional ones, like I wish they could run optionally and in parallel and then merge at the end so that the coach and the trainer know like who was activated and what was done. Like, yeah, it doesn't, this is almost too linear for me. Like
yeah. Like I'm looking at it and it's like, it's awesome, but I can either see n8n doing something where within the LLM module you have now, you just have a new option for like number of models that you want to apply to this action, right? That to me would be sick to where like, yeah, you just go in and plug in like 10 when it comes to like, because you have those 6 things at the bottom, right? And so I'm sure it takes a bit. Even if you're using Nano, I'm sure it takes a bit. But if you had 6, then it takes nothing, right? All of a sudden you've exponentially, like I swear, guys, if you don't pay attention to this shit that we're saying, all of a sudden you go from one thing that took, you know, whatever the measure of time is, to all 6 taking the length of the time of the one. Get it? Right? Like, I can't wait for this kind of stuff. And to me, I could see where this workflow turns sideways, and then there's just one node at the beginning that's the chat node that connects to Slack, and then everything else is just in this. Like all of our workflows, I swear, all of our workflows are going to go horizontal from now on. And it will look like the workflows that we build for like lifecycle stages, where you're going to have just like channels, like just go like 5, 6 channels that go across. But it will be, you know, it'll be this on multiple levels basically, and you'll be connecting to all of them at the same time, right? Like,
so is there any business in any domain and of any size that shouldn't invest in the time or like resource, whatever, to start building stuff like that? Like,
I mean, honestly, the math on it starts going up so quick. Like I was trying to quantify like, okay, how much time is this probably saving me per meeting? And like, you know, writing a LinkedIn post takes me a minute. Like I'm not able to just like sit down and crank. So like you figure that saves me 30 to 45 minutes. You know, maybe tracking my time is 5 minutes, maybe follow-up emails 10 or 15 minutes, but like there's 9 different agents doing things that are saving me time. So I think I calculated it was like almost 2 hours a meeting if it also wrote like LinkedIn content. I do 4 meetings a day, y'all, 5 days a week.
40 hours right there.
Like,
I mean,
that's insane. Like
and
that's time that I can anytime, and like anytime that I'm not doing these things that I've offloaded is time that I can spend doing cooler things, like building stuff like this, like building, the next big thing that's going to save me from doing tedious stuff. Because that's
or
really what all my
educating.
development career has been about, is
Yeah.
avoiding
Right.
Learning, doing other stuff. And I
right.
think we go to the time element because it's easy to quantify, right? But the impact of the mental load
Right.
getting removed, it's obviously we're not at a place where we can quantify that right now.
Right.
But the mental load of right now, before this tool exists, like it only exists because Erin knew that it was an opportunity
Right.
to just handle this stuff for 2 hours. Like if she had a perfect day, it was like, all right, a couple meetings and then a couple hours after each to do all this stuff. And that doesn't transpire in reality because we're in businesses and there's expectations and KPIs and all this stuff. That doesn't take the opportunity out of Erin's mind, right? Like
Right.
now it turns into, well, it would be awesome if I could do this, to the point where you start, some of us, I mean, I'm speaking from personal experience here, like you start to feel bad because you're not leveraging your expertise and your this opportunity that exists. Like you just can't get down it.
Mhm.
And it starts to add this mental load of like, man, I should be better at communicating with my team. I should be better at, doing LinkedIn posts on the regular. Like, what, I have access to all this stuff. Why can't I get it done?
Mhm.
Now it can be done. And like you take advantage of the opportunity cost because it's just getting done. But then the mental load that just frees you up. It's
Right.
like so
Yeah.
hard to quantify that. But
For
at the end of the day, that's how we get to the human value that is available by letting AI do all of these things.
Right.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's like if you guys go back, I can't even remember because, oh yeah, last week. I was about to say 2 weeks ago, so that's what that feels like now.
Right.
So last week when we were looking at MCP, right? I posted the video on LinkedIn. If you want to check it out, in a it's less than a minute that I was dictating to Claude as if I was a sales rep who had just finished a meeting, dictating to Claude basically like my updates for the day, you could say, right? As if I had just met with a client and was jumping onto a plane and I just remembered that I needed to update the CRM, right?
Mhm.
Rather than taking out my laptop and documenting all that stuff, it would have easily taken an hour, right? So I'd be doing it. I'd have to pull all my stuff out while I'm waiting on the plane, waiting there, find a place that nobody else is huddled at that you could plug your stuff into,
Mhm.
because your laptop's probably on like quarter battery anyway, and wrestle with the Wi-Fi and then get it on, and then you're dealing with everybody's hogging the Wi-Fi, so it's slow as hell, and it's HubSpot, so it's slow as hell. So it's taking you forever. You got clickety click, and then type all stuff in there. Or I dictate to my phone for 45 seconds and it goes and automatically takes care of all of that. Total less than 5 minutes.
Right. Like the good thing about this workflow being fired by a transcript being ready is you can get a transcript from just uploading audio to Fireflies. So like I don't even have to have a meeting necessarily. I can just dictate, like you're saying, like record myself talking about the things that need to happen, give it to Jarvis, and it'll get taken care of. And like I don't have to follow up really. Like I'll get a Slack message that tells me what's done.
Right.
Finally, I see a reason for Captain's Log.
Right. 100%.
I don't know if that's what was happening.
I guess that's what's happening on the back end, right?
That must be it, because that's what she has described.
That is so true.
That's so great. Oh my gosh,
man. So
I mean, yeah.
So we talk about the gain.
Oh shit! You know what?
What is the real?
Keep go.
What is the actual cost? Like whatever you can share, like the cost of doing this as an individual. I don't want to, get into. Obviously, there's licenses that she's plugging into that is owned by an organization, but like, what is like minimum cost?
So to run that workflow, probably about $50 a month. Because it's going to cost you, so n8n is actually really affordable. n8n is much more affordable than Zapier, in my opinion. And so, yeah, like you're probably going to pay like $30-ish a month for n8n, and then maybe $20 in OpenAI credits. And
save yourself what was it, like 20 by 4, like save yourself 120 hours a month, basically.
So I might
I don't
not
know
be
what your
able
guys'
to,
time is worth, but Jesus.
I might not be able to survive the mental load and anguish if I get to tomorrow and I have not started using n8n.
Yep.
Right.
Like, I'm already doing it right now. Like, as she was talking about it, I'm pulling it up as if I'm like going along with the teacher right now. Like, oh, cool. Click on that thing. Yeah, that's right.
And that's what's crazy. We're gonna do this content.
Started a Claude project. That's just the n8n Claude now.
Over the next month, like, and still nobody's gonna act on this. Like,
no.
So that's
we'll
why we're
get
just gonna
we'll
keep
get
showing
to
up,
inbound, dude, and
right?
people still won't know.
We're gonna keep showing up. That does remind me of the last question, Erin. Like, where first is one of these companies, is one of the big companies that we love just gonna buy like n8n and then it's like built in, or like which parts do you think, or all of it, are most likely to show up in one of the platforms, you know, over the next 3, 6, I don't even like saying 12 months. I think anything that everybody is saying is happening by the end of the year,
Right.
no matter what it is, right?
I mean, I don't know how much of a hot take this is, or, you know, if it's even in the realm of possibility, but I could definitely see HubSpot either acquiring or merging with, or finding some way to incorporate agent AI into the platform. Like, I think they're on a collision course of like, we will have workflows that connect to agents that can, you know, go off and do these different things. And I think that's going to be great. Like, I think that'll be awesome. I don't know that HubSpot's workflows are going to give us what n8n gives us right now, as far as like the ability to like loop through things. It's the most intuitive loop function I've ever used in an automation platform. Like, it actually makes sense how it works. The like adding memory and adding, like, I think some of that is kind of unique to n8n, and maybe we'll get there with, because agent AI, just as it is right now, just doesn't have some of these kind of features. And I feel like agent AI it's much more linear, of like, it's like input, do something.
It's a fancy workflow.
Yeah. Come
on. Like, let's just be real.
Where, like, I think the important part is like it gets to where we need it to be. Like, the more built in it is to, like, so like the journey mapping, like the journey mapping tool, and this drag and drop mapping stuff, like you see it in the data model builder too. They're developing that resource all over the platform. And when you say like for loop, like that is an option in agent AI. That's something you can do. So that's where it's like my lay developer self is like, okay, so I'm imagining best case scenario, all of the options that you have to trigger and do things in agent AI just show up in the journey mapping tool as an option, right? And so if that were to happen, how far away are we from what you just showed? It's okay if it's too hard to answer, but that's what it's like. Maybe they just buy n8n.
I don't I don't think we're that far off, honestly. Like I think it's getting there. I mean, honestly, end of the year.
Right.
I feel like even that I'm being way too cautious
Right.
and like.
But this is the kind of stuff, the whole reason I do this content is so like I can see all the pieces in play and like build confidence. And when I say that inbound is going to be a dramatically different HubSpot interface experience, they're working their asses off to try and launch this.
Yep.
This is a part of this. And as you see all these, like imagine, and it's great when you have Dharmesh, like the CTO that wants to be AI first, and everybody's aligned with AI first, and the sheer quantity of product teams that view AI in the same way that we were all describing earlier, as an enabler, as like, let's not do all the usual stuff we've been doing and use as many tools as possible to get this done. And you start seeing this functionality show up in various places from completely separate teams. Like I'm talking about the journey mapping tool and the data model builder, right? CRM plus marketing enterprise, like getting to that place of the Zapiers, of the drag and drop workflow tools. That is one of the places, all of the apps that started coming out last year, I unboxed a couple of them, that was part of the value. Like you just can't do that stuff in HubSpot. And it's like, all right, we're plugging in stuff, we're plugging in tools. We've all been saying we would love to have this in HubSpot for a long time, and it's starting to come. It's just labeled as data model builder and journey mapping tool. And but as we know, like all the build paths for HubSpot as they converge, like no matter what tool you're using, the walkthroughs are starting to look the same because AI is there. They want you to be able to use it. And it's like, you don't got to believe me right now, but I'll be there to hold your hand at inbound when it's a dramatically different HubSpot, because it's going to scare the shit out of people.
And they can't like, the thing is
like if you could just plug in agents like across anywhere in the CRM, like not just workflows, like have it, this webhook fires in your private app, so fire this agent as well, or like like it could get closer to our idea of like running things in parallel. I think if they just kind of put the agents where you can plug them in anywhere, and not just in these like linear workflows where like they're constantly working in the background rather than you having to truly orchestrate. Because like orchestrating something like Jarvis, like it took me a little bit of planning and like figuring out like what needed to have, like there's a little bit of technical stuff that goes into that.
Right. This is the experience part.
Right.
Like if you go in blank slate, like we talk about all the time, the reason to work with, HubSpot consultant or partner is like, we've done it all the ways. We figured out which one you should do instead of you yourself going through all 10 different ways to figure it out. Right. So I imagine that's where if I don't watch this and I'm like, all right, n8n's pretty cool, let me get in there, and I have no dev experience. And it's like, I would be able to learn. That's the cool part of AI. But like the path is dramatically faster, right? When you, just get other smart people in the room. It's like, look, everybody can learn at their different paces, and then we just bring that together. It's almost like the agent scenario we described. It's like we're all learning on the different things, and then we converge and be like, yep, that's it.
Right. One other thing I wanted to mention about n8n, their built-in AI assistant to like help you with the workflows is one of the most impressive assistants I have ever seen. Like when you ask it a question, it gets the entire context of what you're working on it looks exactly at the error that you're having. It will look through all of the like n8n community stuff, how other people have solved it, and like come back to you with a little snippet that you can just hit paste into my workflow. And it's good. Like I've fixed multiple. So if you get stuck, ask the assistant because it is phenomenal. Like really.
Do you want me to give a taste, Nico? I see it
What's that?
shared.
No,
your...
I wanted to show you guys something else because
okay,
it's just like a couple of them just launched in the last week.
Nice.
So Chris and I had been talking about this because because Visa made their announcement 3 weeks ago, and so now there's even more announcements coming out, and so this is now an entire company that will build out shopping AI for you.
Nice.
Right, so you've got other people building like these types of also proven Drive 2.5, right? Like you guys, out there probably think like, oh, well, it's not going to be that like not that big a deal. It's like, honestly, go tell companies that pull in billions annually that 2% isn't worth going after.
Right.
Go ahead.
Right.
This so much covers the cost of whatever it is for the agent. It's ridiculous what the ROI is, right?
Right.
What was McKinley saying? 8 to 1 or something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
$1 in,
So
$8 out.
And like, so,
right now,
who's doing it?
And it's
not
only going to
everybody's
get
going to
better.
do it. Walmart.
Yeah. Right.
Who's the first one to put in self-checkout? Walmart. And then people said like, oh, never going to take off. It's never going to be useful. Every single Walmart I have been to has self-checkout. And every single Walmart I go to has more self-checkout people using self-checkout than going through the checkout lanes.
Right.
To the point where like the self-checkouts are massive now. Right. The checkout lanes, there's like 10. And it's mainly because like 2 of them have cigarettes or something. Right. Like it's not even a legitimate reason. It's like we were talking about yesterday, right? It's like, oh, if you want to feel old school and you're still one of those people that likes to like sit in line and talk a little bit before while you're checking out, right? And you're not in a rush or whatever. Yeah, you can do the old school method, or like we all do because it's getting so busy. We all have shit to do. So no, I'd rather just check myself out because it's, I'm done. I'm out. Right. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you guys, but like this is like you're looking at the future, right? And
what came to mind is like we compare it to the closest thing we know, which is like the dawn of the internet.
Right.
But I think it's still unprecedented in terms of like there's still people with bad websites, right? There's still people that don't take their website seriously, don't take digital seriously. And the convergence that we're seeing, like as we talk about learning and agents being able to do stuff, but literally every domain, the leaders of that domain are all developing into this AI-enabled, AI-driven world. And it will be impossible. That's where like even Walmart, like where maybe the experience hasn't been the best in store, right? Like all the data, they probably just have pools and pools of data that's just been piling up. Like we're capturing it. We don't know exactly, we're probably not that great at using it. Like the Amazon, let's say they're the other side of being really great at data. That's why in a lot of my other shows, we focus on getting the data right. Because no matter how far you are behind, if you get your data cleaned up, like you will be able to just jump ahead. Like that's the value of what we're seeing. And you won't have to figure out, don't spend time developing new products to sell necessarily. Like unless you're inside of SaaS service providers, like you guys got to figure something out.
I'm
but like focus on getting your foundation right, understand what this future looks like, and get ready to just start plugging stuff in, right? And enabling your people, like let your people participate in that. Because most of the data inside most organizations is inside people's heads
Right.
still, right? And it's never been easier. Just like, I mean, as I say this out loud, like I was I was not joking at all actually when I compared this to the captain's log concept. Like imagine if just everybody on your team had a device saying, Aaron's log, this is what happened today. This is what happened yesterday. Oh man, I remember this one deal. It was a huge win for us. This is what happened. Probably none of that like qualitative information is in the CRM. And now all of a sudden we can overcome like every weakness that we've ever had using technology. And
you have actual sentiment instead of having to, because what is one of the worst things, right? Like especially when it comes to legal battles, memory, right? You never remember something the same way. Even they've proven this. It's even as soon as an hour later after something's happened, you can still not remember just a detail that probably matters. And well, I did want to highlight 3 things out of this article. That the CTO of Walmart is saying advertising will have to evolve. So now it's not just us. Like we told you first, we have no problem. I have zero problem telling you that like we told you so. We didn't even tell you so. We had AI do the research and AI said this was coming.
And
now, why would this be the case? Because if you're an online, like not even like online retailer, but especially Amazon, right? Amazon, Walmart, like if you're a big box, I don't know about you guys, but around here, and even when we were down in Florida, big box is dying because no one wants it's like the foot traffic problem because people don't want to take that much time to go walk through the entire store. I'm not even joking. We went to Walmart. We picked up something. We were on one side of the store. I was like, oh man, I could, I also need this thing. It's all the way on the other side of the store. I'm out. I'll get it off Amazon. Right. Because I can order it and maybe get it to my house by the time I leave Walmart. So like, yeah, I mean, that's a thing, but it's like, it's a thing. And the further along, time goes, the faster people want to move, the less time they want to spend standing still, the less you want to spend hassling with any of this kind of stuff. If, buying your pair of shoes just involves like, oh, I just want to get the same pair over again. You should be able to talk to your Jarvis and say, hey man, can you order me another pair of those shoes?
Right.
Right. And then that just happens.
This, like I would absolutely love to have, and I may build this now, but have AI like basically plan out my meals for me for the week, send me a menu of like each day, like what I would want, have me approve it. Once it's approved, it goes and it buys, has it ordered off of Walmart, sent to my house. And then, now I'm like, cause I
hate to
like, I hate it.
I hate to tell you that exists now.
Does it really? Okay, well, I have to do that now.
I'm not bullshitting you. If you get Operator, it's one of the principal things on Operator. It's like one of the suggested tasks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's
is this only on the $200 one? I haven't been able to
unfortunately
lobby enough for that one yet.
Yeah,
I'm trying to like move and do a bunch of other stuff, but like I want it so bad.
And the reason I got up
there it is.
Is this conversation brought to mind yesterday. I went to the email. This is why it's not going to work. Like the mailbox, right? And I pulled out 3 like print ads from like a plumber, from AC, heating and cooling, and I'm like looking at these, and especially in the conversation of like energy around AI, and like it's going to the roof, obviously.
Mm.
There's just so much waste related to print advertising, and like those, I couldn't find those because they're in the trash already. Like, right? And if you've ever been in an apartment complex and you see that trash can right next to the mailboxes specifically, and it's almost always
Just jacked full of that.
full,
Right.
almost always like overflowing with all of this garbage that just gets sent, and all the energy related to getting those into our mailbox.
Right.
Like,
And it's like, and I get it. We were talking about that, reverse curve yesterday. And my wife and I were talking about it this morning about, you can't destroy something without building something else. That's just the way it is. And you can't build something without destroying something else, right? So, yes, this is going to, like email has destroyed letters, right? That's why all of a sudden the US Postal Service went from being like fairly, could sustain itself to not being able to sustain itself, because we just stopped writing letters in an entire, within a generation, which is, you want to talk about the people keep talking about the coach riders and all that kind of stuff. Within a generation, we nearly bankrupted a system of government that has been around for over 100 years just because we stopped doing something. We stopped writing letters. And that was just natural. We just don't want to write them anymore, right? So what's coming next is shopping, right? Like it's right here, right? Like I just want to show this commercial real quick, but it's this thing where like, yeah, the time, we're gonna stop getting the shit advertising. Okay, fine. So that's gonna put advertisers out of business, gonna put printers out of business, like in some capacity. There's still gonna be some, just way less. But because there's way less of them, I know this sounds ridiculous, there are way more trees. So now there's way more resource for housing, which we are actually short on. So I know it sounds terrible and I know it looks terrible. It's just, you have to see that there is this other side that balances it out.
Right.
And so like, yeah, one thing out the door, one thing is walking in.
That's like one of my favorite lyrics from a Dawes song. If you've never listened to Dawes, they're awesome. The lead guitarist is just insane. But one of the lyrics is, anyone making anything new always breaks something else. And that has just always stuck with me. And I was just like, well, it's inevitable, like you kind of have to embrace that in order to be willing to make new things. Like,
yep.
Introducing Visa Intelligent Commerce, allowing AI to shop and buy. Add, smile, done. It's that simple. You're in control to make the final call. Or you set the limits and let it do the rest. New way to buy, same trusted, secure way to pay. Visa Intelligent Commerce. Use AI to buy.
Bye-bye, advertisers.
Obsessed.
Yeah, I mean, like I've already downloaded it, right? Like it's sick. Like what? And it's super smooth.
It's available?
Yeah, you can try it for sign up to try.
Damn. Doing
Okay.
that.
Okay.
It's like I don't want to have money. It's like like every time I see something, I'm just like, oh, I'm gonna try that. I need that.
Oh man. No,
Look at this. So you guys like think it's not going to go any further, right? So not only is Visa offering, like having it, right, that you can go use it, but now developers, right? Like it's going to be this thing where just that's the way. I knew it. I told you not you specifically, but now I'm thinking of my wife. 2 years ago, I told my wife, she was like, but what's the commerce going to be like? Like, how are people going to make money? I was like, APIs. Tokenization is going to be the new form of like money, and like using tokens, which is like using agents. Like for most agent services, when you sign up to them, you have to buy credits or you have to buy tokens. Like it is this thing, like we're going to make this shift to crypto in some way or another. And I see it everywhere. So it's like, if you're a business now, it really behooves you to figure out how to data warehouse your shit. It really behooves you to figure out how to put an API key in front of your business.
Right.
Because that's the new door. That's the new doorway to the agent, right? So you have to do that now. If you legitimately, even if you're an old school business and you have an online store or whatever, you better figure out how to take all of your stuff, go to someone like Chris and get it all organized, and then go to someone like Erin and be able to put it behind an agent in the system with an API that can go connect to the rest of the agents in the world. Because otherwise, I'm not even joking. I think a year, 2 year, a year, all commerce is like this. In a year, you'll be like Visa's doing it. So in a year, you're like, come on, like other credit card companies, like Capital One's probably going to have this like by the end of the month. You know what I mean? Like all the credit card companies are going to have this because that's how they move. They're not going to let one of them like take all the pot, right?
For sure.
So, and then like another thing that I've noticed, like to the point you were making, Chris, is like, I'm noticing what this does is it brings the individual to you. You're no longer shopping in the big box. So what becomes more important now? Personalized, niche, bespoke, like singular things. We just went like trolling through the shopping center, and what I noticed was Big Lots out of business, like another big box store out of business, another big box like NCAP store like going out of business. What was thriving? A Warhammer 40,000 store. You know why? Because if you play Warhammer, that's the only store you can go to play it. So they've been there. You can see the condition. They've been there a long time. But if you are in this area and you want to play tabletop, that person has 100% of the pie. A lot of businesses out there, you're casting nets. And most of you are not even putting like ISPs in front. Most of you don't even know what your personas are. Like so many of you don't even know what the personas are in your CRM. You're guessing, right? And you're just trying to hit white whales all the time. And now what it's going to turn into is instead of, which is what you guys should be doing, especially all of the startups, instead of casting a wide net, okay, fine, do it at first to figure out where the target is, but you should already be building a niche product to begin with, because instead of getting 10-15% of every pie, or maybe parts of some pies, you should be getting 90 to 100% of your own pie. The problem that Erin solved, so many other people have. And if she makes it specific to HubSpot, so much the better. Because her version will always be much better because she got there first. I'm not even joking. If you ain't first, you last. It's just that thing. And she's going to continue to specialize down that road, right? Where maybe somebody else won't. And so now she owns that piece of the market, right? Like fully, until somebody else comes along, and good luck, because she will already have had like so many people in the market. Like the top, if anybody, I don't know how many other people are working on like transcripting software, but it really is. It's like even Zoom having its own, people use third-party ones. Even though Zoom has it built in, even though Teams has it built in, people prefer the third party. Why? Because it's specific to something in some way. Right. And it's like, it's not a joke. Like Fireflies is really good for what we do. Fathom's all right. Otter sucks, right? There are just some that are not good, and I'm sure Otter's awesome for some other organization, right? Just like is there one project management software system No, there's like 80 of them.
Mhm.
And I'm sure out there's one industry that prefers one type of like one type of management software, and I can guarantee you that management software company is not targeting that entire industry. That specific, like not just the industry, the businesses within that industry, the types of businesses within that industry, because
Mhm.
those types of businesses exist all over the country and well, in some cases all over the world, right? So yeah, you might be hyper targeting, but you're hyper targeting 7.5 billion people, right? So like somewhere in there is going to be the 500,000 or, whatever, 700,000 or, whatever, 20 million, whatever it might be, right? It's that population is going to exist.
Yeah.
If you think on that large of a level, like the fact that we can push this technology, I mean, people who even have access to the internet is what, let me look it up. It's got to be at 4 billion at least, right?
Well, even down to the local level, like the reason we want to share this stuff is even if you're that like human based, like woodworker, like handcrafted experience, right? Like that people are going to come and buy your product because they love the feel of it. There's literally no way to like close the sale digitally, right? In some cases, like I got to come in, I got to see it. Like no matter how good it looks online, I'm going to sit in it, right? Apparently I'm talking about a chair at this point. But even though that's required for me to make the purchase, the close, right? If you're not a part of my initial journey where I say, I'm going into town and like, I want to understand what's available, or if there's anything new at this shop, I might go there all the time. Like, but if I don't have access, if it doesn't fit into my digital space, my buying habits, where now I have agents doing work for me. That's when Nico says the front door is API. It doesn't mean you have to sell everything through the front door.
Nope.
You just have to let me see inside.
Yep.
Right. And sometimes that's going to allow businesses to open up whole new revenue paths where you could sell stuff, right? You could sell like woodworking, like workshops and training sessions, and like the mastermind group stuff is on the table for almost anybody, with expertise.
And here's the crazy part, right? Is whereas before, when you did search, like again, you had to go look for stuff, right? If you've done any deep research lately, or you've used Gen AI for search lately, you know exactly what this is like. Even on average now, most of these models, if they do a singular one, it's like 20. I think Chat just on average does like 45 pages or something like that. Claude tends to go through minimum 3 sets of 10, so it'll at least do like 3 to 4. So it, in terms of resources, it's not like it's just going to 5 and then making a comparison based off that. If you watch Gemini, honestly, like I gotta say, like Google has caught up. I wouldn't say like is doing anything fancy, except we will talk about Gen Alpha this week because oh man, well, we've hit that level, right? Where so like Erin was talking about, her system is self-improving. We've hit that level of teaching. So like well beyond. Like, it's one thing to tell a system like, hey, what do you think best practices, right? Because it could only really like look at itself, and then it can look at other examples online, right? It can't really come up with something like new, right? But pretty much there now. So that in and of itself, that's why I stopped. Like I don't know, end of next year I stopped after like Google made this like latest breakthrough. But to stay on track, if you're targeting online, right, and everybody's going to be online, 70% are mobile and almost 70% altogether.
That's crazy.
So I'm not bullshitting, right? Like the world is going digital. You know, it's just science fiction was just science without the time caught up to it. At the end of the day, you guys are starting to find that out now. I've been waiting since I was a kid. But you know, finally it finally came about. I don't think we're not gonna get to Star Wars. I'm talking about like hundreds of years there. Unfortunately, not getting to Star Trek either, which sucks so bad.
Unless it already exists.
The Jetsons had me convinced that I would have a flying car and a robot maid by now, and
You'll have a robot, hands down. Like no joke. Yeah,
like
everybody's gonna have a robot
to do that workflow, to do the meal planning. Is that 6 to 12 months? The robot, the figure robot, then takes the plan that you've approved and then makes the stuff for you.
Right.
Yes, goes and cooks my meals and like cleans the kitchen. I swear, if I could get AI to like clean my house, that would be the greatest day of my life. Because like right now, it's like I get AI to do like work stuff for me and like do research and all this. It's like I kind of like doing research. I fucking hate doing the dishes. Like, can you get it there and like and do that instead?
Right, because like those are like, when I think about it, I mean, they are what they are since we were kids. If you had these types of parents, if you didn't hear this word when you were younger, I know exactly what generation you're in, and it tells me the level of like fortitude and effort that you're willing to apply go forward in your life. We had chores when we were younger. We had chores, and we were assigned these chores, and chores were essentially like working as a child. So it was child labor, and we barely got paid for it. I think at most it was like $2 a week or something. Yeah, quarter a chore.
Yeah.
I know.
Call my parents after this. I'm pretty sure I got like $1 per bucket of weeds that I pulled in these buckets.
Yeah. Like I think I got $10 from mowing the lawn.
It was a barter system.
Right.
You were now able to do stuff and go places and watch TV.
Exactly.
Right.
To go buy comic books and stuff. It was awesome.
Oh man.
So yeah, I mean, like we're doing that as adults, right? And it's taking away from, you know, you might think there are a lot of people. Again, there's that whole right? So there's people on both sides, and unfortunately, because they see the extremes of both sides, they think that everything else in the middle is the same way, which is weird. But you know, it's this thing of like parents would be able to have more time and spend more time with their kids right out the gate. If you didn't have to spend all the time doing the laundry, prepping the meals, cooking the meals, you know, cleaning up around the house, cleaning up after your kids, right? Like, you know, picking up around the house, rearranging stuff, whatever it might be, right? All of the physical tasks, not that you're not going to ever physically do something ever again, just that all the minutia, because that's what it is at the end of the day. It's minutia. It's just stuff that comes along with having to have a house and all that kind of stuff. Because if you live a different lifestyle, maybe you don't have to vacuum, maybe you don't have to do certain things, right?
Adulting.
It isn't right. Adulting. So
and that's what's fun to think about. It's so hard to cap this conversation. Move on. I'm just gonna leave you with one thing, like the dishes idea, which I've never met anybody who actually enjoyed it. But that's where, like, when the figure robot gets involved to make the stuff, there could be a way for it to happen without any dishes getting dirty, like, because it's got all these, where it makes the stuff, how it makes the stuff, like self-cleaning mechanisms. Like, you just start to think about like some really fun stuff that, like, as you allow AI to come in and collaborate and enable these activities, it learns, it figures out. Like, I'm sure that like human beings, like getting in the sink, like, I don't know that we've innovated on that activity in like 3,000 years.
Right.
Like,
no,
so
the brushes, yeah.
Right.
But that's
yeah. There you go. So I have some fun thinking about that abundant future that is already here in a lot of ways. And thank you so much, Erin, for showing your n8n magic. I almost cut it off at like 45 minutes because I wanted to just get in there and do it.
I know. Next week, I want to see what y'all work on for the like
Yeah, that's definitely, we can't get away from this Saturday activity of just getting in and building stuff with the new stuff and figuring it out on Tech Stack Reimagined. But yeah, it's been fun to have you back. Glad you found some time to get some air with all this stuff going on.
for
And
sure.
like a good dev, like a good engineer, you immediately dive into an activity that's going to be like, all right, I don't have time for all this shit. Like,
Right.
I got a life to live.
Right.
Uh,
Like I'm
I
super
got
busy.
Sunday shows to be on.
Right. Exactly.
So thank you so much.
Of
And
course.
always a pleasure. And until next time, folks, have an awesome week.
Thanks, y'all.